Hello and shalom. I'm Dr. Arik Greenberg, a scholar of religious studies. I'm the host of a brand new internet-based talk show about religion and spirituality called Religion Matters. For the last year, we've been developing this podcast and have just finished our first season. The show features me and occasionally my guest co-host, Dr. James Finley, who is also a professional scholar of religious studies, as well as a Christian minister. And together, we interview people from a variety of faith traditions, and we educate in a fun and engaging fashion. Having finished our pilot season of episodes, we're ready to do more. We have an exciting lineup of people from different walks of life and religious traditions, including Buddhist monks, Christian ministers, Hindu swamis, and even Holocaust survivors, and many, many others. The idea of our show is to feed people's interest in learning about religions of the world in an exciting and accessible manner. There is far too much ignorance about the various religious traditions of the world, which has contributed to a lack of understanding and even a prevalent level of intolerance. As a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, as we are called in the Torah, who better than the Jews to lead the way in promoting religious tolerance through broad education about religion and through interfaith dialogue? Our show, entering its second season, will be a forum for people of different faiths to converse and share about their traditions, and for people of all backgrounds to be nourished and educated in a dynamic way. Here are a few clips from our last season's episode. We developed this show together because we are both scholars of religion. We are professional scholars of religion. We actually have a bunch of letters after our names. Not that that makes any difference, but it qualifies us on some level to sit up here and talk with you a little bit about some of our opinions, our scholarly opinions about religion and spirituality in this world. I've sort of bristled when I hear people in recent times talking about, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, because as a religious studies scholar, I start wanting to reach out and say, yeah, but depends on how you define religion.
All of us who are human are religious about something. Mm-hmm. Now, some of us might be religious about Sunday afternoon football games. Christians have the unfortunate reputation of being sort of tarred and feathered with, no one comes to the Father but by me.
Exactly. Yes,
being used to claim that Christianity is the only way to find God.
Mm-hmm. Just to give the audience and also you a little bit of background about me, as my last name shows, obviously I do have some Jewish, whatever you want to call it, Jewish blood or Jewish extraction in my background. My father's side of the family are Russian, Polish, and Romanian Jews. And they came here to the United States in the late 1800s. But my mother grew up in the Catholic Church, and she was a very bright kid, although she was very obedient, and she had a lot of questions. And the priests and nuns didn't want to answer these questions because they were difficult questions. And she had questions about things like, well, how can we have one God, but it's three gods? I don't get it. What is this Trinity thing? Or the virgin birth, or all these aspects that she had questions about, and they would just very blithely tell her, oh, don't worry your pretty little head about it. You'll understand when you're older. Well, then she turned 18, and she still didn't understand. So when she was in college, she had a lot of friends who were Jewish, and she had a lot of respect for Judaism as a culture and as a religion, and she just converted to Judaism. So when my parents met later on in college, my mother had already become a Jew, and so several years after college, they got married in the Jewish temple. And my father, obviously, as I had said, was brought up a Jew on Long Island, and so my understanding of my own Jewish identity was somehow, I guess you'd say, it was mitigated by my understanding of my Christian identity simultaneously, all in one person. Associations with Islam, which some people have claimed, and regardless of whether there's any connection to Islam in his background or not, unfortunately, this absurd notion is rooted in the ignorance of the general American public about Sikhism and the fact that Sikhism is not in any way, shape, or form related to Islam.
Again, there was a fair amount of people who assumed we were not Sikhs, but we were Muslims for the way we look, and sometimes we let that slide. Sometimes we would tell them if they come up to us and the differences, and they would appreciate that. And it was very there's more of a question marks on their face as to why this person is dressing differently and why does he have this hat on his head than anything else.
Obviously, I think every community has a responsibility to reach out to its neighbors, but also it goes the other way, where a community, the hegemonic community, if you will, the larger host community should always have some type of a hand out to their newest neighbors and say, welcome, tell us about yourself, and we're glad you're here. And it's a shame that Europe did not do that with the Jews. Welcome, thank you for being here. How can we help you get accustomed? And in the same way, I would hope that that American, the overarching American culture would do that a little bit more readily with Sikhs and other communities from around the world.
Right after the towers collapsed, the people had already formed an impression of who these people were and what they looked like and who the enemy was. And wherever they could find those enemies, it was their patriotic duty to get back at them and to give them an eye for an eye.
Right.
So it started right after towers collapsed. He was there, and it was.
Yeah, it's a very primitive notion. The idea that all of them, whoever they are, represent the bad people that all of us, we over here, hate. And if we can pick off a few of them, then we can get back at the individuals who started this. It's a very tribal sort of notion, and I would like to think that our Western civilization has risen above that, but we have a little bit further to go.
Yeah, exactly. The vision, our conception of God, like you said, is monotheistic. God in Sikhism has no shape, no form, no sex, no creed. He was never born, nor does he die to be born again, and that's part of the first sentence of our morning prayer called the Japji Sahib. He is never born, nor does he die to be born again. That means he's ever progressive, eternal. He was there before the world started. He will be there when the world ends. It's as per his wishes, everything happens in this world. Everything happens by his hukam. Hukam means his mandate. Everything is written, and whatever happens by a law that he commands. How do we relate to him? How do we pray to him? He has no shape and no form, so we can't make an idol of him. So idol worship is a taboo in Sikhism. We don't have a picture of him, so paintings of gods are of all the people have them in the homes, but we don't owe them any reverence than just paintings on the wall. He has no sex, no creed, so we relate to him through his words. His words are the words of wisdom revealed to our 10 gurus, which are enshrined in the Holy Book, the Guru Granth Sahib.
His name is Dr. James Sanders. He is the author of a number of, including Torah and Canon. He is also the founder of the Ancient Biblical Manuscript Center, and also is famous for his work during his early career on the Great Psalms Scroll, one of the I guess you'd say, seminal scrolls of the Dead Sea Scrolls collection. And so we'll be talking with him today about a variety of these different issues and happenings in his career. So welcome.
Thank you, Arik. I'm very pleased to be here. Then I began, after that, to study with the rabbis in Cincinnati at the Hebrew Union College. I was there for nearly 4 years and got the PhD. And I was the second non-Jew to get a PhD in that institution. A significant event of my life was when I was invited to go to Jerusalem to unroll the large scroll of Psalms, which you mentioned in the introduction. And I went out in September of 1961 to do that. And the scroll wasn't really released for me to unroll it until November. It was at that time, you may know that the old city of Jerusalem and the West Bank were administered by the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. And I unrolled the scroll in 10 days, which was not expected. I was expected to take 3 to 6 months. It looked pretty cruddy. It was caked in bat dung and mud. It had rested in the cave for a couple of thousand years, and it is a large scroll, one of the largest ones of all of the scrolls, not the largest, but one of the largest. And I got it open in 10 days. Mm-hmm. You can see that the bottom part has this black area because due to moisture in the cave, and there would be some moisture down there. Maybe some winters would have as much as 2 inches, and the water would get into the cave. And of course, it was due to the aridity that they were so well preserved. But at any rate, chipping away at the bottom of the scroll, you could see the bottom of each column would have been the bottom of the scroll, was a delicate task. But I don't think I lost anything. Abraham Heschel, the great Jewish philosopher and theologian, was teaching at Jewish Theological Seminary across Broadway in New York from Union Seminary in the Columbia University area. And he was, my first year there was his year there as the Fosdick visiting professor. And so we were in the same processional and everything for the academia, and we had offices next door to each other. And he took his job as Fosdick visiting professor very seriously, and was there available for the students and me and anybody else. And we got very well acquainted, very gracious. And I think he was kind of impressed with my knowledge of Jeremiah, his favorite book in the Bible, and one of mine too. And we could quote Jeremiah in Hebrew to each other. And I think that impressed him that a goy could quote Hebrew. And I'll tell you a story. Our son was, I think, 11 years old at the time. And one of our walks, he was on his bike, Rob was, but Heschel didn't see him. Heschel loved him, but Heschel didn't see him. It was behind Heschel. I saw him, and I thought, well, this is a good discipline. Yeah, I won't interrupt. Wait until Heschel. Well, Heschel didn't finish talking, and so Rob went on home. And that night at supper, he said, "Dad, why is it you and Heschel always seem to be walking away from synagogue, never to synagogue?" Which meant he remembered the tradition that you walk quickly and hastily to shul, to synagogue service, but you walk reluctantly away. And that's what he was saying. I told Heschel that. He was delighted that Rob remembered that.
In order to support this project, I have just founded a brand new nonprofit organization called the Institute for Religious Tolerance, Peace, and Justice. Religion Matters Show, the podcast, will continue to operate under this new institute and will become its flagship project. With the help of the funds from the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles and the Next Big Jewish Idea, we can really make this show a big success. We can help promote interfaith dialogue and take another big step toward world peace. Your votes can help us win this contest. With your help, we can carry out God's commandment to be a light unto the nations. Thank you.